The dining room smelled of roasted turkey and tension, a scent so familiar, it might as well have been a family heirloom. It was Thanksgiving, November 25th, 2025. And I, Vanessa Mitchell, 32 years old, sat at my parents' table in their suburban Portland home. A 10-mile drive from the life I'd carved out for myself. The tablecloth was the same faded plaid from my childhood. The green bean casserole, a predictable centerpiece. But something in the air felt rehearsed, like a play where everyone but me knew the script. I'm a project manager at a renewable energy startup, a job that demands precision and patience, both of which I've honed over years of building my own life. No handouts, no shortcuts. My house, my savings, my quiet evenings, they're mine, earned through late nights and careful choices. But to my family, I'm not Vanessa, the woman who made it. I'm Vanessa, the one who fixes things. My mother, Diane, 60, a retired schoolteacher with a smile that stretched like overworked dough, greeted me at the door with a hug too tight to be sincere. "You look exhausted." "Sweetheart," she said, her eyes scanning me like I was a ledger. She needed to balance. "Are you working too hard, my father?" Robert, 62, a former mechanic with hands still stained by years of grease, gave a distracted nod from the couch, his bourbon glass sweating in his grip. "Hey, kid," he muttered, eyes fixed on the football game flickering across the screen. My brother, Ethan, 36, was already at the table, scrolling through his phone, his slouch as familiar as the excuses he'd perfected over the years. He didn't look up when I sat down, but I caught the flicker of his jaw, a telltale sign he was avoiding something. I knew that look. It was the prelude to a request I wouldn't want to hear. Dinner began with the usual rhythm, clinking silverware. Forced small talk. The hum of a holiday pretending to be warm. Diane praised the weather. As if Portland's drizzle was a personal achievement, Robert refilled his glass, the amber liquid catching the light like a warning. Ethan picked at his food, his fork scraping the plate like it owed him something. I ate slowly, my stomach tight, waiting for the moment I knew was coming. My family has a way of turning gratitude into obligation, and I've spent years as their unwilling architect, rebuilding what Ethan tears down. At 24, I co-signed his lease, only for him to skip 2014, 6 months later. My credit took the hit. At 27, I wired $1,500 to cover his credit card debt. A family emergency, Diane called it. At 30, I paid $800 for his car repair. No questions asked. No thanks given. "You're so lucky, Vanessa," Diane would say, our voice soft but sharp. "You can afford to help." And I did. Until I realized help wasn't a gift. It was a debt I was expected to keep paying. Halfway through the meal, Diane set down her fork, folded her hands, and gave me that smile, the one she saved for requests dipped in guilt. "Vanessa," she began, her voice too gentle, like she was offering me pie instead of a burden. "We've been talking. Ethan's had a rough patch. His landlord was unreasonable. You know how it is, and we think it's best if he moves in with you for a little while, just until he's back on his feet." The words landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading across the table. Ethan glanced up, then away, his fingers tightening around his phone. Robert cleared his throat, bracing for a fight. Diane's eyes locked on mine, waiting for the resistance she'd call selfish. I felt the room hold its breath, every fork stilled, every glance heavy. I could have argued. I could have listed every time I'd bailed Ethan out, every dollar I'd spent, every boundary I'd let them cross. But I didn't. I smiled, light as air, and said, "If it helps Ethan, I'm happy to do it." The silence that followed was sharp, a blade of surprise. Diane blinked, her smile faltering. Robert exhaled, like he'd dodged a storm. Ethan leaned back, a smirk creeping across his face. moss spreading over stone. They thought I'd caved, that I'd opened my 2-bedroom house, the one I'd bought with a $50,000 down payment from my savings, and make room for Ethan's chaos. They didn't know I'd sold that house 6 weeks ago for $400,000, netting $100,000 after the mortgage. They didn't know I'd moved to a 1-bedroom rental 15 miles away, a place they'd never seen. And they didn't know I had no intention of letting Ethan, or any of them, set foot in a home that no longer existed. The highway stretched dark and slick under Portland's November drizzle, headlights slicing through the mist like half-formed thoughts. I gripped the steering wheel, the hum of the engine, a steady pulse against the silence I craved but hadn't yet claimed. The Thanksgiving table was miles behind me now, but its weight clung, heavy as wet wool. My family's words echoed those soft, practiced syllables that always meant more than they said. They thought they'd secured my compliance, my home, my life, as if it were theirs to rearrange. They didn't know I'd already rewritten the ending. Years had taught me my place wasn't in their affection but in their need. At 25, I'd paid $2,000 to clear a debt my brother swore wasn't his fault. The creditor's calls a nightly intrusion I silenced with my savings. At 28, I covered $1,200 for his phone bill, a temporary lapse he promised to repay but never did. Each time, my mother's voice would soften, her gratitude laced with expectation. "You're the strong one." My father's silence was his consent, a nod that left me to carry the load. I wasn't their daughter in those moments. I was their ledger, a balance sheet to square their mistakes. Every dollar I gave was a brick in a wall I didn't know I was building, one that kept me useful, but never safe. My house had been my refuge, a 1,200 square foot sanctuary bought with a $40,000 down payment scraped from years of overtime. I'd painted the walls sage green, hung curtains from clearance racks, and made it mine with every paycheck. But it never stayed mine. My brother's emergencies turned it into a shared asset, a place they could claim when his life unraveled, a missed rent payment, a broken lease, another sob story they'd call, and I'd brace for impact. I'd sit in that living room, staring at the door, wondering when it would stop feeling like home. That's when I knew a house isn't yours, if it's always open to invasion. 6 months ago, I'd made the call, a realtor's voice, calm and professional, walked me through the sale. The house fetched $380,000, leaving $90,000 after the mortgage. I didn't tell anyone, not out of malice, but because silence was the only shield I had left. I moved to a 1-bedroom apartment, 12 miles from the old address, a space with bare walls and a single window facing a quiet street. No one asked where I lived now. They didn't need to know. My family saw me as a function, a safety net stretched taut beneath their chaos. But the nets tore, and I was done mending the rips. The road curved, and Portland's skyline flickered in the distance, a reminder of the life I was building beyond their reach. My phone stayed silent in the passenger seat. No texts yet. No demands. They'd come soon enough. I knew, with plans for my brother's boxes and his furniture. As if I'd already said yes. I let the thought settle, cold and clear. They could plan all they wanted. They didn't know the door they were knocking on belonged to someone else now, and I wasn't going to tell them not yet. The apartment was a cocoon of quiet, its single window framing a Portland street where rain tapped a steady rhythm on parked cars. In the week after Thanksgiving, I moved through my days like a ghost, deliberate and untethered. My new space, compact and unadorned, held only what I needed: a coffee maker, a bookshelf, a bed that didn't creak with the weight of old promises. At my desk, I pored over project timelines for the startup, the glow of spreadsheets, a refuge from the storm I knew was brewing. My phone, tucked in a drawer, buzzed with messages I didn't read. I wasn't hiding. I was waiting. The texts began on Monday. Polite at first, like footsteps testing ice. My mother's words flickered across the screen. "We'll bring his couch this weekend. He's so grateful." I let them sit unanswered, each one a brick in a wall, I no longer felt guilty for building. Wednesday. The tone shifted. Her messages sharper, laced with assumption. Do you need us to organize the garage for his things? My brother chimed in. His text, a casual jab. Hope you're ready for a roommate. I pictured him smirking, certain I'd bend as always to my life, a canvas for his chaos. My father's silence was louder, a void where support might have lived. They didn't ask where I was, what I wanted. They never had. To them, I was a key, not a door, a tool to unlock their problems. I filled my evenings with small rebellions. At a coffee shop 3 blocks away, I sipped espresso under string lights. The barista's nod, a warmer welcome than any family gathering. I lingered over a novel. Its pages, a world where choices were mine. Thursday. I walked along the Willamette River. The water's churn mirroring the tension I carried but refused to voice. Each step was a reminder I wasn't the one who'd broken the contract. They'd written it long ago, expecting my signature without consent. I'd spent years signing, my pen dipped in sacrifice. But the ink had run dry. Saturday morning. I left early. The apartment locked behind me like a secret. I drove 20 miles to a coastal trail, where the air tasted of salt and freedom. Pine needles crunched underfoot. The ocean's roar drowning out the world. My phone vibrated in my pocket once. Twice. 3 times. I ignored it, letting the wind carry my focus. Hours passed among the cliffs. My breath steady. My mind clear. By noon, I checked the screen, missed calls from my mother, my father, even my brother. A voicemail waited. Her voice brittle. The kind that snapped under pressure. There's a stranger here, she said. Each word a shard. He says he lives in your house. Says you don't own it anymore. What is this? I stood still. The trail's edge sharp against the sea's expanse. Her panic was a thread I'd unraveled deliberately. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like clarity. I dialed her back. My voice even. A lake undisturbed. I sold it. I said, months ago. I moved out. I didn't think it mattered. The silence on her end was thick. A fog of disbelief. I could hear rustling. My father's low mutter. My brother's sharp exhale. You didn't tell us. She snapped, her tone a mix of betrayal and accusation. You let us think I cut in. Calm as stone. I said I'd help if it helped him. I didn't say where. For a moment, no one spoke. I imagined them on that porch. Bags at their feet. The stranger's face a mirror of their miscalculation. My mother's voice returned. Smaller now. Almost pleading. Why would you do this? I let the question hang. The ocean's crash filling the pause. I could have explained the years of being their anchor. The nights spent calculating their debts. The home that stopped feeling like mine. But explanations were for people who listened. And they'd never been those people. I moved on. I said simply, you didn't ask where I was. The call ended. Her final words lost in a scramble of voices. I pocketed the phone and turned back to the trail. The horizon wide and unclaimed. They'd come for me. I knew angry. Entitled. Certain I owed them answers. They'd find my new address. Knock on a door I controlled. And when they did, I'd be ready. Not with apologies, but with the truth I'd finally chosen to keep. The knock came at dusk. 3 sharp raps that cut through the hum of Portland's evening traffic, 5 miles below my apartment window. I'd known they'd find me. Their determination. A tide I couldn't outrun. The peephole framed them my mother. Her face flushed. Lipstick smudged like a warning. My father. Shoulders hunched. Fists clenched. My brother. Arms crossed. His scowl. A storm. Waiting to break. Behind them, a rented truck loomed. Its cargo of boxes and furniture, a monument to their misplaced certainty. I opened the door halfway. The chain still latched. A line drawn in steel. You tracked me down, I said, my voice flat as the hardwood beneath my feet. My mother's words tumbled out, jagged and breathless. We called you all day. We thought you'd explain. Not. How could you let us show up at a stranger's house? Her hands twisted a scarf, unraveling threads like her composure. My father stepped closer, his voice rising. Bourbon still faint on his breath. You said he could stay with you. Now we're here. His things loaded. And you act like we're strangers. I didn't flinch. Didn't raise my tone. The apartment behind me was still. Its bare walls, a canvas I'd kept clean of their chaos. I said it might help him. I replied. Each word measured. At the old place. The one I don't live in anymore. My brother pushed forward, his eyes blazing. Voice cracking like dry wood. This is low. Even for you. You knew I was counting on that house. You let us drag everything across town just to prove some point. His hands gestured wildly, as if motion could rewrite reality. He tilted my head, studying him. You assumed my home was yours to claim? I said. You packed a truck without asking if I still lived there. That's not my point. That's your mistake. His cheeks reddened. Not with shame, but with fury. The kind that thrives on entitlement. He leaned in, voice dropping to a hiss. You think you're better than us? Don't you always so perfect? So untouchable. My father's hand landed on his shoulder. A warning. But his own words carried an edge. We're family. You don't do this to family. You owe him a place to stay. There it was. The word they'd never spoken, but always implied owe. As if my years of labor, my savings drained for their crises, my nights spent stitching their torn lives, were a debt I'd volunteered to carry. I stepped back, my hand finding the phone on the counter. What are you doing? My mother asked, her eyes narrowing. Voice, a thread pulled tight. I didn't answer. I dialed, the rings steady as my pulse. Emergency services. A voice answered. I spoke clearly, my tone a blade wrapped in calm. I have family members outside my apartment. They're not invited. Not on the lease. And they won't leave. I'd like to report trespassing. A gasp escaped my mother, her hand flying to her mouth. My father swore, low and rough, the sound swallowed by the city's hum. My brother's jaw dropped. His voice, a snarl. You're calling the cops on us. Your blood. I met his gaze. Unflinching. I asked you to go. You didn't. My mother's voice broke. Almost a whisper. How can you do this? We raised you to care. I held the phone steady. The dispatcher's questions faint in the background. You raised me to fix. I said, I'm done fixing. The silence that followed was a chasm, deep with every boundary I'd let them cross. Every yes I'd choked out when I meant no. They stood frozen, the truck's shadow stretching long across the curb, their plans unraveling, like the scarf in my mother's hands. I gave the address, my voice unwavering, and waited for the patrol car's lights to pierce the dusk. The patrol car's lights faded into Portland's dusk, leaving the street quiet. But the air was thick with what remained unsaid. I stood in the doorway, watching the truck's taillights shrink, its cargo of misplaced hopes rattling 10 miles back to wherever they'd come from. My mother's final plea lingered, a brittle echo. We're your family. My brother's threat hung heavier. You'll pay for this. My father's muttered curse was just noise, a habit more than anger. I closed the door, the latch clicking like a full stop. Inside, the apartment was still, its sparse furniture casting long shadows. I didn't feel triumphant, only unburdened, as if I'd shed a coat worn too long. By morning, the storm broke. My phone glowed with notifications, 17 missed calls, texts piling up like debris. My mother's messages were a cycle of shock and blame. How could you humiliate us? My father's were curt. Clipped, fix this. My brother's words were venomous. You're dead to me. Others came from distant relatives, neighbors I hadn't seen in years. Their words a chorus of judgment. Your mother's heartbroken. He's sleeping in his car. Is this what you wanted? I scrolled past them, unmoved. Their outrage was loud. But it wasn't new. It was the same script, rewritten for a wider stage. Then I found it a public post on a social platform. My mother's words sprawling across the screen, punctuated by tearful emojis and a photo of my brother. Years younger. All smiles and innocence. We raised our children to love each other. She wrote, but one has chosen success over family, turning her back when we needed her most. Our son deserves better. We all do. The post had spread. Hundreds of likes. Comments from strangers and old acquaintances piling on selfish. Heartless. She's probably rich. 2. I stared at the screen. The accusations a mirror of every label I'd carried cold. Ungrateful. Too proud. But mirrors lie. And I was done believing them. I opened a new post. Me fingers steady. I didn't write for pity or applause. I wrote for truth. Plain and unadorned. I attached proof screenshots of bank transfers. $3,000 for a loan he never repaid. $900 for a utility bill he'd ignored. A receipt for a lawyer's fee. $2,000 to keep his record clean. I included a message he'd sent last year, calling me stuck up for refusing to fund his latest scheme. I added the final document, the sale of my old home. $375,000. A choice made to protect my peace. I ended with a single line: I didn't walk away from family. I stopped carrying their weight. I hit post and watched the screen. Within minutes, reactions flooded in, some condemnation. Others support. Good for you. One wrote, toxic families don't get a pass. Said another. The numbers climbed. Shares spreading my words across the platform like wildfire. I didn't read them all. I didn't need to. This wasn't a plea for validation. It was a line in the sand. Drawn for me. I turned off the phone. The silence, a gift I'd earned. Later, I stepped onto the balcony. The city's pulse faint below. Portland's skyline shimmered. A constellation of lives moving forward. Untouched by my storm. I held a mug of tea. Its warmth seeping into my palms. Not for calm, but for ritual. A moment claimed as mine. A neighbor across the street, bundled in a scarf, waved as she passed. I waved back. The gesture small but solid. More real than the obligations I'd shed. The air was crisp. Late November's bite gentle. A reminder of beginnings. I thought of my family, likely huddled somewhere, rewriting the story to cast me as the villain. They'd tell it well me. The daughter who betrayed them, the sister who shut the door. Let them. Their version didn't matter. I'd spent years living in their narrative, twisting myself to fit their needs. Now, I stood outside it, whole in a way they'd never understand. The apartment behind me was mine. Not a stage. Not a that. Just a space where I could breathe. I sipped the tea. Its steam curling upward, dissolving into the night. My phone stayed dark. No new messages to pull me back. I didn't check the platform. Didn't count the likes. Or skim the comments. The world could debate my choices. I didn't owe it an answer. I leaned against the railing. The city's hum, a quiet companion. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for the next knock. The next demand. I was here. Present. My life no longer a ledger to be balanced. The stars above Portland blinked. Indifferent. And I smiled. Not at them, but at the weight I no longer carried. The apartment hummed with a stillness I hadn't known was possible. Its corners softened by the glow of a single lamp. A week had passed since the truck's taillights vanished into Portland's dusk. And the silence was no longer a visitor but a guest I'd invited to stay. I moved through the space, 8 miles from the chaos I'd left behind, tracing the edges of a life I'd built without strings. A potted fern sat by the window, its leaves catching the late November light. A quiet testament to growth I hadn't forced. The walls held no echoes of demands, no shadows of debts I hadn't chosen. My phone, tucked in a drawer. I had lit up once that morning, a final message from my mother. Her words, a plea wrapped in regret. We can still fix this. I read it. Then let it fade. Unanswered. My brother's silence was heavier. His absence, a choice I mirrored. I blocked their numbers. Not with anger's heat, but with the cool resolve of someone who'd learned doors don't need to stay open forever. The act was simple. A tap on the screen, but it felt like setting down a burden I'd carried across years of unasked questions. I stepped into the kitchen, the floor cool underfoot, and filled a kettle. The water's soft gurgle was a melody, not a reminder of tasks undone. I poured it over coffee grounds, the aroma rising like a promise kept to myself. Outside, a neighbor jogged past, her ponytail swaying, and she raised a hand in greeting. I nodded back. The exchange fleeting, but enough. A thread of connection woven on my terms. Portland's skyline shimmered 8 miles away. Its lights a map of lives I didn't need to mend. The coffee warmed my hands as I walked to the window. The city's pulse, a distant hum. I didn't feel the need to check the platform to see if my words still sparked debates or drew venom. That chapter was closed. Its pages turned not for others but for me. I thought of my family, perhaps gathered somewhere, reshaping their story to paint me as the one who broke the bond. Their narrative was theirs to keep. I'd stepped out of it, not to wound, but to live. I set the mug down, the ceramic clinking softly, and turned off the lamp. The room settled into darkness, not heavy but gentle, like a breath held and released. I stood there, the fern's silhouette, a quiet companion, and felt the weight of being enough not for them, but for myself. The world outside moved on, and I did too. Not as a savior or a villain, but as someone who'd finally claimed her own story.
Rain streaks the window of my tiny London flat. Cold, gray streaks match the cold, gray pit opening in my stomach. I'm 22, pacing the creaky floorboards, phone pressed to my ear so tight my knuckles ache. Tom's voice crackles through, my father, casual as if he's telling me about the weather, not admitting he stole my entire college fund. All of it. $42,000. Every scholarship, every summer job, every late-night shift at the diner, gone. You didn't need it anyway, he says through the speaker. Debts to clear up. What's done is done. No point getting upset about it now. Like it's nothing. Like he hasn't just yanked my senior year out from under me while I'm 3,000 miles from home. How much is left? I ask. My voice stays steady, though my hands shake, trembling so hard I nearly drop the phone. None, sweetie, he says. None of it's left. Had some things to take care of, but don't worry. You're smart. You'll figure something out. Figure something out. Like I have a choice. Like he hasn't just torched 4 years of my life, scholarships I fought for, jobs I juggled with midterms, savings I scraped together since I was 16, all gone because he couldn't keep his hands off what wasn't his. I see, I say quietly. Well, good luck with that. That's my girl, he replies, mistaking my calm for surrender. Always practical, just like your old man. Listen, I've got to run. Meeting buddies for beers. We'll talk soon. And he hangs up. Meeting buddies for beers with my money. My future. My chance to finish this degree abroad in the city I've fallen in love with. I stand frozen, staring at the phone. Rain taps the glass like it's mocking me. 3 months left, that's all I've got. 3 months until I'm supposed to head back stateside, senior year dangling by a thread, and now nothing to pay for it because Tom, my own father, decided his debts mattered more than my dreams. I sit at my desk, small, scratched wood, overlooking the street I've walked 100 times. Cobblestones wet and shining under streetlights, London sprawling out there, alive and indifferent. And I'm here, alone with this. He stayed a cosigner on the account I opened at 16. Never thought to change it. Never thought he'd do this. Trusted him because he's dad, because he's supposed to have my back, not stab it. I can still hear his voice, so breezy, so smug. You'll figure something out. Like it's a game. Like he hasn't just left me stranded in a foreign country with no plan, no funds, no way to finish what I started. My hands stop shaking, curl into fists instead. Practical, he called me. Practical, like it's a compliment, not a lifeline I've clung to since I was a kid, figuring things out when he forgot my birthday, when he borrowed my babysitting cash and never paid it back, when he grinned and said I'd be fine. My phone buzzes again. A text from him. "Don't tell your mom," he writes. "No need to worry her or grandma either. Just keep it between us." Of course he doesn't want them to know. Doesn't want Ruth's sharp eyes or Karen's quiet questions digging into his mess. Doesn't want them to see what I'm seeing now, the man behind the grin, the one who takes and calls it family. I stare at the message, the rain, the street. My future slipping through my fingers like water. And something shifts. Not loud, not dramatic, just a spark. "Practical," he said. "Practical's what he'll get." I set the phone down. Screen dark, rain louder now. 3 months to salvage this. 3 months to turn his theft into something he can't touch. I don't yell, don't cry, just sit there, breathing, staring at the city I won't let him take from me. Not anymore. Not this time. The rain doesn't stop, drumming against the window as I sit at my desk, the phone still dark from Tom's text. "Don't tell your mom." His words linger, a warning wrapped in cowardice, but they don't scare me, they ignite something. I turn on my laptop, the screen's glow cutting through the dimness of my London flat. If he thinks I'll just figure something out without a fight, he's forgotten who I am. I've got 3 months to save my senior year, and I'm not letting his theft be the end of it. My fingers hover over the keys, steady now, and I start digging, bank statements first, every record of that $42,000 I poured my life into. The account loads online, and there it is, empty. Transfers bleed across the screen, a trail of small withdrawals, $5,000 here, $7,000 there, clever enough to dodge instant flags but reckless enough to drain it all in a month. Scholarships from late-night essays, diner tips from sore feet, summers spent saving instead of sleeping, all funneled into his pockets. I print the statements, pages stacking up on my cluttered desk, each one a piece of proof. He didn't just take money, he took years of me proving I could do this, proving I was more than his fallback plan. The printer hums, and I hear footsteps, Lily, my roommate, shuffling in with a mug of tea. "Your dad did what?" she says, leaning over my shoulder as I spread the statements out. Her voice is sharp, incredulous, cutting through the quiet. "Can't you report him for theft?" I shake my head, tracing the account details with my finger. It had his name on it. Co-signer since I was 16. Legally, he had every right to access it. I just never thought he'd actually do this. Lily sets the mug down, steam curling up, and stares at me. "But that's your money, Mia." "He can't just," he did, I cut in, my voice flat but firm. "He already has." She frowns, but I don't linger on her pity. I'm past shock now, into something colder, something practical. I should have known better. The memory hits hard, birthday cash at 9, $50 from Grandma Ruth he borrowed for gas, promising to pay me back with a wink, never did. At 18, he pushed me to sign for extra student loans, grinning as he said he'd help repay them, then vanishing when the bills came. Always the same, taking what's mine, spinning it as no big deal. I trusted him because he's dad, because family's supposed to mean something. But trust doesn't stop a thief. My laptop pings, another text from him popping up on my phone. "Don't sweat it," he writes. "Maybe retail's better money than a degree. You worry too much." I stare at the words, his casual dismissal like a slap. Retail. Like my education's a hobby he can toss aside. The irony stings, he's out there sipping beers with my future, texting me to relax while I'm scrambling to save it. I don't reply. Instead, I open a new document and start a list, documentation first, bank records, proof of my deposits, scholarship letters I've kept in a folder since freshman year. Then options, legal resources, financial aid, part-time jobs here in London. 3 months isn't much, but it's enough if I move fast. He thinks I'm practical? Good. That's exactly what'll bury him. I save the list, the click of the keyboard grounding me, each step a thread pulling me back from the edge he's pushed me to. Lily's still hovering, watching me work. You're not gonna let this go, are you? She asks, half a question, half a statement. No, I say, meeting her eyes. I'm not. She nods, a small smile tugging at her lips, and heads back to her room. Alone again, I pick up my phone, not to text him, but to call Ruth. My grandma's voice comes through after 2 rings, warm but edged with that sharpness I've always loved. Mia, honey, how's London? I hesitate, not ready to spill it all yet, just gathering strength. It's good, I lie, then shift. Can I ask you something about Dad? About money stuff? Silence, then her tone hardens. Is everything okay? I don't answer that. Not yet. Just curious, I say, keeping it light, but her pause tells me she's already suspicious. We'll talk soon, I add, hanging up before she presses. The rain's still falling, softer now, and I sit back, staring at my list, my statements, my plan. Tom thinks he's won. He has no idea what practical really means. The rain's faded to a drizzle by the time I set up my laptop for the video call, my flat quiet except for the hum of the screen. Ruth's email sits in my inbox. Can we talk? There's something you should know, sent after our cryptic phone call last night. I've got my bank statements ready, texts from Tom's screenshot, my list of steps growing longer by the hour. 3 months to save my senior year, and I'm not doing it alone, not after what he's done. I click the link, and faces flicker onto the screen, Grandma Ruth, her silver hair pulled tight, Mom, Karen, eyes tired but searching, Aunt Lisa, my dad's sister, leaning forward like she's already braced for bad news. They don't know yet, but they will. Mia, what's going on? Ruth starts, her voice cutting straight through pleasantries. I don't hesitate, I lay it out. Tom took my college fund. All $42,000. Said he had debts, told me to figure it out. I hold up the bank statements, the numbers glaring even through the pixelated feed. Gone in a month, transfers he hid until I checked. Silence stretches, then Ruth's face hardens, her lips a thin line. That man stole from his own daughter, she says, not a question, a verdict. Karen's hands tremble as she leans closer to the screen. He told me you wanted a break from school, Mia. That you were thinking of moving home. Of course he did, he's always spun stories to cover his tracks. I flip through the screenshots, Tom's texts glowing like evidence in a courtroom. Don't sweat it, I read aloud. Maybe retail's better money than a degree. The irony twists in my gut, he's out there spending my future, telling me it's worthless. Lisa's eyes narrow, lawyer instincts kicking in. Any promises in writing? She asks, voice sharp. I pull up old emails, careless lines from him last year. That money's for your education, kiddo. I'll pay it back someday if I need to use it. Someday. Like it's a joke. Not binding, Lisa says, scribbling notes, but leverage. Good leverage. I nod, feeling the shift, shock fading, steely calm settling in my bones. Ruth breaks the silence, her fury palpable even across the ocean. I called him yesterday, asked about your fund. He squirmed, said everything was fine. Nervous as hell. She emailed me right after, sensing his lie. Now she knows why. He's always done this, I say, the words spilling out. Borrowed my birthday cash as a kid, pushed me for loans he'd never repay, took credit for my grades like they were his doing. Now my future's his fallback, and he thinks I'll let it go. Karen's face crumples, guilt mixing with anger. I had no idea, Mia. He's been lying to me too. I don't blame her, she's been untangling his messes longer than I have. Lisa leans forward again, practical now. The account's tricky with his name on it, but these emails, these texts, they show intent. We can push him. Push him. The idea lights something in me, not loud, not vengeful, just steady. He underestimated me, treated me like an extension of his schemes instead of a person with her own fight. I've been documenting everything, I tell them. Every withdrawal, every message, every call. I'm not letting him walk away from this. Ruth's eyes gleam, fierce and proud. Good girl. He's gone too far this time. The call ends with a plan forming. Ruth will confront him first, let him know the family's watching. Lisa's drafting something legal, and Karen's quiet resolve hints at bigger moves. I close my laptop, the flat still again, but my phone buzzes before I can breathe. Tom's name flashes, another call. Hey, kiddo, he says when I pick up, his tone too light, too careful. Quick question. You wouldn't happen to have any other savings accounts, would you? Just wondering, since you're always so good with money. The casual entitlement in his voice makes my blood boil, but I keep mine even. Why do you ask? Oh, no reason, he says, a laugh forced into it. Just thinking about your future. You know how dads are. Thinking about my future, like he did when he drained my fund, when he tried to talk me out of studying abroad, claiming I was ditching family. Sorry, Dad, I say, cutting him off. In class now. Talk later. I hang up, my pulse steady despite the heat in my chest. He's fishing, testing me, assuming I'm still his safety net. I open my laptop again, add to my list, close any accounts he might know about, transfer everything to a new bank. He won't touch another dime of mine. That evening, Ruth's email pings through. Called your father today, she writes. Seemed nervous when I asked about your fund. Is everything okay? I smile, imagining his discomfort. He's always feared her, the one person who's ever held him accountable. Can we talk? I reply. There's something you should know. Her response is instant, tomorrow. I'm ready. The drizzle stopped outside, London's streetlights flickering on. Tom's lies are unraveling, and I'm not just figuring something out, I'm taking it back. Morning light filters through my flat's window, London waking up as I finish my third call to the university's financial aid office. The advisor's voice was kind but firm. Emergency funding's possible, but I'll need a part-time job to cover the rest of my senior year. 3 months left, and I'm not waiting for Tom to fix what he broke. My laptop's open, bank statements, and my growing list beside it, new accounts set up yesterday, every penny I had left moved where he can't reach. He called again last night, fishing for savings, but I shut him down. Practical, he said. Practical's what's saving me now. I grab my coat and head out, the city's hum steadying my nerves. I've got a plan, and it starts today. The financial aid office is a blur of paperwork and promises. I show them the statements, explain the theft without breaking, and they nod, scribbling notes. We can defer some tuition, the woman says. Work study's an option too. I sign up for a library gig, nights shelving books, quiet hours to think. It's not enough alone, but with Ruth's insistence on pitching in, take it, Mia, I believe in you, it's a lifeline. Back at the flat, I'm barely through the door when my phone rings. Ruth's name flashes, her voice crackling with urgency. I'm at home. Your father just showed up. Won't let him past the porch. I can picture it, Ruth, 68 and fierce, standing in her doorway back in the States, Tom pacing the steps like a cornered dog. How dare you, she shouts, loud enough I hear it through the line, loud enough for neighbors to peek out. Stealing your daughter's college fund, have you no shame? His voice filters through, lower, pleading. Mother, please. This is a family matter. Exactly, she snaps back. And you betrayed your family. Now leave before I call the police. He goes, but not quietly. My phone buzzes with his text minutes later. Your grandma's turned you against me. I don't flinch, just type back. About what, Dad? The fund you stole? Lisa's handling it now. His reply's instant, angrier. What's Lisa got to do with this? Everything, I say aloud to the empty flat, though he can't hear me. Aunt Lisa's demand letter hit his mailbox this morning, certified mail, no dodging it. She called me earlier, voice crisp with purpose. It's done, Mia. Detailed every withdrawal, gave him options to repay, or we escalate. I'd sent her more screenshots, Tom's texts, his Sunday emails, fuel for her legal fire. He calls me now, outraged, his casual mask slipping. You can't sue your own father, he yells, like I've crossed some sacred line. Watch me, I say, calm as steel, and hang up. He doesn't get it. Every call, every text is another nail, more evidence of his entitlement sinking him deeper. I save it all, my fingers steady on the keys. Karen's next move shakes the ground under him. Mom files for divorce that afternoon, papers citing years of lies, financial infidelity, they call it. I'm on the phone with her when she tells me, her voice trembling but resolute. He's been hiding things, Mia. Gambling debts, loans I didn't know about. Your fund was just the last straw. I hear the courthouse echo behind her, imagine Tom's face when he's served. Later, Lisa texts me a courtroom snippet, the judge, incredulous, leaning forward. You emptied your daughter's college fund to pay gambling debts? Tom's weak protest follows, I was going to pay it back. With what money? The judge fires back. According to these statements, you haven't held a steady job in 3 years. Karen sighs through the line. He's crumbling, Mia. Finally. Back in London, I'm shelving books that night when my phone buzzes again. Tom, desperate now. You're blowing this out of proportion, he texts. It was just money. Family's more important. Just money. Like $42,000 wasn't my future, like he didn't trade my degree for his bar tab. I don't respond, just forward it to Lisa. Let him dig his hole, she'll bury him with it. The library's quiet, rows of spines stretching into shadows, and I feel the weight lifting, piece by piece. Funding's secured, jobs in place, families closing ranks. He thought I'd fold, thought practical meant passive. He's wrong. Every step I take is a wall he can't climb. Ruth calls again as I'm walking home, streetlights glinting off wet pavement. He tried the porch stunt again, she says, a laugh in her voice. Told him to talk to Lisa. He stormed off, kept saying you'd regret this. Regret what? I ask, my breath fogging in the cool air. Holding him accountable? She chuckles, fierce and warm. Exactly. He's scared, Mia. He should be. I smile, the first real one in days, and hang up. Back at the flat, I add to my list, monitor repayments, check in with Lisa. Tom's texts keep coming, denial, anger, guilt trips, but I don't answer. He's not in control anymore. The next morning, Karen sends me the divorce filing, his gambling debts laid bare, my funds theft a centerpiece. He tried to spin it, she writes. Said you overreacted. Judge didn't buy it. I sit at my desk, statements spread out, and feel the shift complete. 3 months ago, he left me with nothing. Now I've got funding, a job, a family fighting with me. Practical's what he called me, thinking it'd keep me small. It's what's making me untouchable. Tom's hole's deep now, and I'm not pulling him out, I'm climbing higher. London spring air creeps through my flat's window as I check my bank account, first repayment from Tom hit today, $500 yanked straight from his paycheck. Lisa's demand letter worked, legal pressure forcing him into a real job after years of dodging. I'm shelving books at the library when my phone pings again, Ruth texting from the States. He's whining about the payments, she writes. Called yesterday, begged me to make you drop the plan. I smile, sliding a novel into place. He's crumbling, just like Karen said in court, and I'm not lifting a finger to stop it. 3 months ago, he stole my future. Now, every deposit's a brick in mine, built without him. Back home, the family's closing ranks tighter. Karen's divorce pushed through last week, her attorney uncovering Tom's hidden accounts, cash he'd stashed while claiming poverty. Bigger settlement than he expected, she tells me over the phone, her voice lighter than I've heard in years. Your funds theft tipped the scales. Lisa's digging deeper too, finding his lies stretched beyond me. New truck bought last fall, vacation pics on social media, golf club dues he somehow kept up. He's not broke, she says when I call her. Just good at hiding. Not good enough, though. I save her update with the rest, statements, texts, proof piling up like armor. Tom's texts keep coming, a flood of desperation now. You're ruining my life, he writes one night as I'm studying. My own daughter turning against me like this. I don't reply, just forward it to Lisa, let her stack it with the others. He shows up at Ruth's again, louder this time, neighbors gawking as she bars the door. Your grandma at my party last week said he tried guilt next, Karen tells me later. Said he's learned his lesson, asked why you can't forgive. Has he learned? I ask, thinking of his golf club brag online last month, my money funding his swing. No, she sighs. He's learned he can't manipulate you. That's different. Graduation day looms, and I'm walking campus when Lily hands me my cap, black, tassel swinging, mine despite him. The ceremony's tomorrow, and I'm ready, degree paid for with work study, Ruth's help, emergency funds I clawed back. Tom tries to crash it, showing up uninvited, voice booming across the lawn. That's my girl, he yells, playing proud dad to strangers. Lisa's there in seconds, escorting him out before I even step on stage. Your success is yours, she whispers as he's led away, his grin faltering. He doesn't get to claim it. I nod, stepping up to the podium, diploma in hand, his underestimation my fuel, not his triumph. That night, Ruth hosts my party, family gathered, no Tom in sight. Cousins swap stories over cake, Beth, his sister, laughing about cash he took from her kids' birthday cards years back. Same old Tom, she says, texting me later. Tried me too, thought I'd bail him out. I pin his latest Christmas card to my board when I get home, thick with fake cheer, still paying for one mistake, scrawled inside. Next to it, my degree, my library pay stub, my new job offer from a London firm. His words don't sting anymore, they're just noise, drowned out by what I built. He thought practical meant weak. He's learning it means unbreakable. The cascade keeps coming, relatives I barely know call, disgusted by his stunts, his facade cracking wide open. Karen's divorce exposed more, loans in her name, lies to friends about investments. He's got no one left to borrow from, Ruth tells me, her voice satisfied. Finally ran out of excuses. I sit at my desk, repayments ticking in, graduation behind me, and feel the quiet triumph settle. Not loud, not bitter, just mine. Tom's world shrinks as mine grows, and he can't stop it. Practical's what he called me. Practical's what won. 2 years later, my London flat's still small, but it's mine, paid with my firm's salary, decorated with my taste, free of Tom's shadow. The final repayment lands today, $42,000 plus interest, forced from his paycheck by Lisa's plan. A note's attached, now can we be family again? I file it with the rest, statements, texts, his desperate bids, not for leverage now, but as a reminder of how far I've come. Ruth's visiting, her first trip abroad at 70, sipping tea across from me as Big Ben chimes outside. He called again, she says, smirking. Heard I'm here, asked if your flat's cramped. Offered to help with hotel costs. We laugh, the same old trick transparent as glass. My career's soaring, senior position at the firm, earned with the grit that got me through his theft. Last week's gala had me speaking, voice steady under chandeliers. Sometimes those who should lift you become obstacles, I told the crowd, not naming him. Their underestimation becomes your motivation. Tom saw it online, Ruth got his rant secondhand. She's using my mistake for attention, he'd whined. No, Ruth replied, sharp as ever. She's successful because she's strong. Big difference. I smile at her now, her pride warming the room more than the tea. Not just what you achieved, she says, but how. You didn't let him turn you bitter. He keeps trying, birthday card last month, first in years, signed your biggest supporter. The audacity makes Karen laugh when I tell her over the phone. He tagged you in old photos too, she adds, claiming he built your dreams. Lisa drafted a cease and desist when he hinted at investing in my education again, paper trail still my shield. His latest scheme's flailing, telling family friends he's got London connections, charging consulting fees for fake job leads. Your father says you're hiring, one wrote me. I shut it down fast, no influence, no truth, just Tom grasping at my success. Ruth's visit ends at my favorite pub, her glass raised. Your success is all the response he needs, she says. I nod, the weight of it sinking in, degree on my wall, firm promotion, flat I've made home. Back at work, Jake, my cousin, texts from the States, debt-free thanks to me. Tom said your overreaction taught him a lesson, he writes, laughing. Guess who's got a lawyer now? Lisa chimes in, he's learned to avoid family with teeth. I grin, pinning his last Christmas card, when will you let it go? Next to my latest raise. His signature's just ink now, not power. The repayments are done, his world shrunk, Karen remarried, happy, tells me over Skype, he thought stealing would keep you dependent. It set you free. She's right, every move he made pushed me higher, his punishment not the money but watching me thrive beyond him. He calls Ruth one last time as I'm packing for a work trip, begging her to soften me. You're done funding his lifestyle, she tells him, hanging up. I board my flight, London fading below, and feel it, freedom, earned not given, built from his mistake and my resolve.